All right, it is now Halloween, and that means it is time for the last of the 13 reviews of Fright for 2025, and especially this classic special. And we're going out with a bang with Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, my history with this one is I didn't see this one at the same time as I saw Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein. I saw this actually fairly recently, and yeah, it actually surprised me, like how much it stood up. Because my only history with this is I saw a video where somebody took clips of this, and it was of the creature just kind of wrecking things all over the place. And they added him swearing. Like if the creature spoke and he's wrecking everything and he's going, fuck this, fuck that, screw this. And I just thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny. So I was kind of going like, okay, now that I've seen that and I haven't seen the movie, I kind of am going to expect that. So that's why I didn't watch it. That was one of the reasons why I didn't watch it for the longest time. And so I finally did because I wanted to get that out of my head. And I'm glad I did because this actually surprised me. I was kind of expecting it to be kind of in the same style as the other three that I mentioned, Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman. But this came out like a decade or like 2 decades after those movies. This came out in the early 50s. So at that time, they kind of had a better understanding of, okay, we now have better technology to film certain scenes, like with underwater scenes, and we have a little bit better effects that we can work with, and we have a better grasp on what the definition of pacing is. So I was pretty surprised, and I kind of for a while didn't think about the fact that it was made in the 50s. I thought like, okay, this might have been like maybe the 40s, but then after I watched it, I was like, oh, that was the 50s. Oh, okay, that's cool. And so I was really surprised by this. And, I enjoyed this one, actually. I really enjoyed this one. So if you don't know what this one is, it's a group of scientists. They go to the Amazon to do some studying over there, and then while they're over there, they discover this place called the Black Lagoon in the jungle, and there's a certain beast or merman or something creature that is inhabiting this lagoon and is basically, terrorizing, you can say, but they want to either capture it or kill it to bring it back to civilization to study. But they're having a really hard time with that. So then havoc ensues. So I was quite surprised on like how much better this was, because like I said, I was going into it going like, okay, there's going to be no scenes with like them, with like the creature underwater or anything like that, because I don't think they knew how to do that at the time. They didn't have the technology, but then learning that this was the 50s, they had a better understanding on how to do that. And then they made this, and it was like, all right, there's a lot of scenes where it's in water and especially underwater too. And it's like really cool. And I was also really, surprised and happy to see how quickly they get to the Amazon jungle. It's like maybe 10, 15 minutes of boom, here's the characters, boom, here's why they're doing it, and go. And then you have another hour of like, okay, now they're here. And so it kind of, for a while, it feels like it's all one location. It feels like a bottle movie. They're there and they're just studying over there, and then this creature shows up, and it's like, well, now let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get it. Take it away from its natural habitat, because humans never do that. Ugh. So I was very surprised because this one felt, out of the Universal monster movies that I've seen, this one was honestly the faster paced one, the most fast paced one. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they had 15 to 20 years of doing these monster movies on their belt, that they had a better understanding of, okay, now we can do these certain things. We now have a better idea of pacing. We have a better sense of editing, and they were able to learn to use all these new skills to then do this. And I think it really, really worked. And, and every time when the creature showed up, I just, that video of him just going, fuck it, fuck this, and just smashing shit, it just kept playing in my head, but it did not affect what I was watching. I was having fun with it. And so I was pleasantly surprised about this one. Pleasantly surprised. I also like how, when shit's going down, some of them were going like, we need to get out of here. And then some of them were just like, no, we gotta capture this thing. And, maybe certain demises happen. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen this. And it's, and the creature's design and the effects work is still very, very cool and very creative. And, when you think of, when someone says like, okay, Creature from the Black Lagoon, you immediately think of this. But it also doesn't help that they really never tried to make a new one of this. And they've tried numerous times. Like, real quick, James Wan is trying to develop a new one. Back in the 90s, this is actually one that I wish got made. Back in the early 90s, John Carpenter was going to write and direct a remake. It was going to be very rated R, very gory, very rated R. The effects were going to be done by Rick Baker, and the creature would have had a backstory where it would have tied in. It would have been very inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and the town of Innsmouth. And the creature would have been the protagonist, and all the humans would have been the antagonists. And it's one of the few movies, and it never got made because I think he was doing, it was either Memoirs of an Invisible Man or Village of the Damned, and both those movies weren't financially or critically successful, so the studio just went, nope, we're not doing it. So it really sucks because it's like, I want to see that. Like, I really want to see that, but it never got made. So currently James Wan has, he's on track to direct a new version. Nothing official has come out yet, but, that'd be cool, especially to see him go back to horror, because the last movie he did was Malignant, and I will defend that movie until the day I die. But anyway, this surprised me. It really did. And because I was kind of going like, all right, I knew what I was going to get into. It's going to be the same stuff from like Frankenstein, Dracula, etc. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And I was like, all right, that's cool. It feels like they're doing different. It feels like a step up in just in all aspects. The performances are very good. The amount of water scenes was like okay, we now figure this out. Let's use this as much as we can. And yeah, they do a really good job. And, I like how really the creature's kind of like in the water, like in the shadows for a good chunk of the movie. It's not until really the third act, maybe like the second half of the film, when, we see the creature like actually moving and not swimming. And so it was like, that's really cool. Like it's build up. And I really enjoyed that. And so this one surprised me. So, this one I would put up there as, one of the better Universal monster films. This one, along with maybe Wolfman and Frankenstein and maybe Bride, maybe, I would hands down watch again, because it was like, wow, that was really effective. Like, that was really good. So I'd give this a great. And so, you take one look at the creature and you can immediately know what it is. It's not something where you go like, okay, it's some underwater thing. It's like, no, that's the creature. And and so that's what all these like Universal monster films, and also just all these classic films that I've covered over the past 13 days. It's just they're so iconic that you can't think of anything different, and they are just staples in not just horror, but I mean in film history. We wouldn't have we wouldn't have all these different monster stuff and all these different varieties of monsters, all these different versions of monsters, if it wasn't for the start of the Universal ones. Like, yeah, some of them were books, like Fright and Frankenstein and Dracula, but we got a visual look at them, and they're really effective. And for the fact that all of these, are between 50 to some of them being 100 years old, and they're still very effective. That's something in and of itself.